What's up YouTube, Dell here from Zephyr, and today, because you smashed that like button way above 50 likes on the Dracotail branded version, I thought I would definitely be bringing you a Shaddoll Dracotail build. Now this build is built a little bit more nostalgia towards the Shaddoll cards themselves, as you do see Shekanaga, and there will be some other good old fashioned Shaddoll fusion monsters in the extra deck. You can make the deck a little bit more competitive by playing cards like Cartesia, as I think that's like just a great starter for a deck like this. Even if you do end up fusion locking yourself because you want to play fusion deployment, it's definitely a card that you should be considering. I decided to steer away from it as I know there are a couple of profiles online already that do play that card, and I wanted to bring you something a little bit more unique, a little bit more Shaddoll focused to bring back the nostalgia. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you miss out on any more upcoming content. Diving headfirst into the profile, we're going to start off with the Shaddoll monsters. So for the Shaddoll monsters, we are going to be playing a little bit more than normal just because it is more focused around the Shadolls themselves. So we're going to be playing 2 Squamata, 1 Dragon, 1 Beast, 1 Hedgehog, 1 Falco. So that's for our darks. Now you don't have to play Falco, I just quite like the idea that what I want to try and achieve with this particular build is that using the Femina, I want to be able to try and wind lock my opponent during their turn. Now obviously that's not going to be your 100% success rate of what you're always going to do, but again it's just something that your opponent wouldn't really consider. In order to do that, you will need to open up the Femina plus 2 dark Shaddoll monsters. Another option, if you open up a Shaddoll and another Shaddoll monster with a different attribute, is you can actually work yourself into an app clone. There are a couple of cards in the deck that you can sub out for some hand traps, sub out for some breakers if you choose to. This is just one of them decks, like I said, is focused more on trying to get you access to Shadolls and utilize the Shadolls as more with the Dracotail supporting them than the other way around. For the other attributes of the Shadolls, we've got the 1 Wendy, the 1 Ariel, and the 1 Yugioh. Now again, the other benefit is if you are able to activate the Ariel from the hand, you will be able to banish 3 from your opponent's graveyard, which is really, really useful. And the benefit of being able to utilize Shadolls during your opponent's turn is it's just going to be able to get you more effects to let you follow up for the next turn, or technically which would be your first turn, to give you a bit more field presence. A card that I feel is like an honorary Shaddoll monster, but you don't have to play if you don't want to, is the 1 Eldritch the Golden Lord. Now what makes this hybrid so good is the fact that Shaddoll Fusion is pretty much the same as Rahul Dracotail, or Rahul Dracotail is the same as Shaddoll Fusion. That allows you to utilize monsters from your deck as your fusion materials if your opponent controls a monster, or in Shaddoll Fusion's kind of state if they control monsters special from the extra deck. So they're really kind of cool, powerful normal spell cards that let you utilize your deck as your fusion materials. More so than not, obviously with the Rahul Dracotail, you're going to have to send a Dracotail from the deck, whereas with Shaddoll Fusion, you can actually work your way into a construct to get you into an Eldritch the Golden Lord. Then we are playing 3 Shaddoll Fusion. So there we go, 3 Shaddoll Fusion there. Apologies for the pen on this one if you can actually even see it in colour. I've literally just seen that I thought this was my sleeve, but it's not, it's the sleeve that they originally sent it to me, so that needs to be changed. But 3 Shaddoll Fusion. Then 1 Shaddoll, L Shaddoll Fusion, backed up by the Rest Shaddoll Incarnation and the Shaddoll Schism. So that's it for the Shaddoll monsters and the lineup. Like I said, it's a little bit more Shaddoll focused just because it's more so nostalgia. It's kind of like reinvigorating the Shaddoll plays and everything else in between. Moving on to the Dracotails, pretty standard on this one. Like if you've watched my Dragontail builds up to this point, you'll see that like I'm not needing to go over the effects in much detail, but they all pretty much have the same effect that if they use as fusion material, they let you set a Dracotail spell directly from the deck or a trap. And then in the case of something like your Mululu or of course your Urgla and of course your Pan, they will have additional effects. Pan lets you destroy Pan lets you destroy a monster, Urgla lets you destroy a spell or trap, and then the Mululu lets you negate. So it's kind of like additional bonuses, especially when they are different attributes. So less so the wind, because I'm not really going to be playing the Wendigo in the extra deck, but more so the fire for Grista, preview, and then of course the dark for Shaddoll Winder if you wanted to as well. So we've got the 3 Femina. This is ideally during the main phase. You get a quick effect to discard it to then fusion summon into a spellcaster or a dragon. Now remember, the only spellcaster that's in the Shaddoll art type lineup is going to be your, once I get to it, your App Clone and your Winder. So you're not going to be able to go into Construct, big sad because it is a fairy, but it's just so a bit of an idea of what you need to be going for. Then for this particular version, as we are focusing more on the Dracotail with Shadolls without involving Cartesia, our ideal normal summon is going to be our Dracotail Yugioh. That being said, if you do have Cartesia, you can reduce the Yugioh down to 1 if you wanted to, and then utilize your Cartesia as the other starter for your deck. That is entirely up to you. We've got 2 of the Moodaloo. This is a card you could cut down to 1 if you really wanted to, because you might want to utilize it from the deck a bit more, and that's where the Cartasia comes into play. Because for your normal summon of this deck, you don't really want to be setting a Shaddoll monster in 2025. You either want to normal summon the Lucias, which will work your way into the Feymana, and the Feymana straight away will set you up a fusion play, or you're going to work your way into a Moodaloo, and then normal summon the Moodaloo to utilize this effect as a quick effect to fusion summon into another monster. So there's kind of different ways. Unfortunately, you get to fusion summon a Dracotail fusion monster specifically with the Moodaloo, so it's a little bit different, but you're still using a Shaddoll monster as fusion material, and you can still trigger its send effects. So again, that's why Cartasia is a little bit better, as it lets you do either or, whereas the Moodaloo is specifically Dracotails. And then we've got the 1 Urgler and the 1 Pan, pretty straightforward on these ones, as I've already mentioned. Then for the spell cards, we've got 3 Ketu Dracotails. So you add a Dracotail monster from the deck to the hand, and then if your opponent controls a monster, you get to fusion summon a dragon or spellcast a monster from your extra deck, use a monster from your hand or field. So obviously you've got the Arthleon from the Dracotail lineup that allow you to return cards from the field or grave back to the hand. But then of course you do also have access to go into a dragon or a spellcaster, being Winder or some of your other options that we'll show you a little bit later on. Not to mention it's just your rotor for either a Moodaloo, a Feymana, or of course a Lucias if you wanted to. Then got 2 of the Rahu Dragontail. Now you can play 3 Rahu Dragontail if you want to. Again, I'm only playing 2 because I am playing True Tactics Thrust, and as a little bit of a preview, Magical Ice Fusion, which I'll explain as we go through it. But this one lets you fusion summon a Dracotail monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand, deck, or field. But for the rest of the turn after it resolves, you can only special summon from the extra deck fusion monsters. So you do play, or you can play some Link monsters in the extra deck if you want to. I've gone full fusion focused, but there are a couple of cards you might want to adapt to. Then we're playing 1 of each of the Dracotail traps, being 1 Flame and 1 Horn. Horn targets the tap position monster on the field and returns it to the hand, and then you get to put a Dracotail card from the grave to the bottom of the deck and draw a card. Flame lets you negate a face-up spell or trap on the field, put a Dracotail card to the bottom of the deck, and then draw a card. Then for the supporting engine on this one, I am playing the Dogmatica package, or like 3 Nadir Servant and 1 Maximus, just because I love how Nadir Servant really works in order to send an app clone from the extra deck, search out Maximus, and then get you the direct access into your Shaddoll Schism. And then during your opponent's turn, you can then work your way into different Shaddoll monsters, utilizing the attributes in your graveyard. Then for the other supporting cards, 2 True Tactics Thrust, because it can become any of your normal spell cards, and as mentioned in the branded version, when your opponent is utilizing monsters to summon during your turn on turn 0, you have True Tactics Thrust becoming a little bit more live. We do have the 1 Foolish Burial. This can very easily become a True Tactics talent if you feel it's going to be more effective in the environment. And the last card I'm playing is the 1 Magical Ice Fusion, and the only reason for this one is just to get our big fat stack boss monster, being the Quintet Magician, out of the extra deck. And the way that you can get to this is we are also playing the Predaplant Chimera Flasia. You can utilize the Albion Dragon, which is sent when it's sent to the ground in the end phase. You search out a you get to search out a fusion spell. But the reason that I like the Chimera Flesia is it just during the next standby phase, which means it can kind of play around Droll. So like if you get Drolled in your turn, you can't resolve the Albion card in the end phase. But if you get Drolled during your turn, you can resolve the Chimera Flesia. And this is another one of the cards you send off of your Maximus to put a Dark in the graveyard, and that's then going to set up your plays to search work your way into a Winder off of the back of the Shaddoll Schism. So that's it for the entire main deck. Now to show you the extra deck. So moving on to the extra deck, we'll start off with the Shaddoll monsters themselves. Pretty staple on these lineups for the Shaddoll monsters at the early stages. So we are going to be going with 2 El Shaddoll Winder. This is the one that you can make during your opponent's turn 0, which I still think is incredibly powerful. Because you use your Feymana, you make a Winder, and your opponent's going to be like, I can't attack it, so I can't out it. And then there's no other way for me to kind of deal with a Winder. I guess I have to pass. The other one that we are playing is going to be 2 El Shaddoll Construct. Oh, that's an app clone. 2 El Shaddoll Construct. You can play the Gravity Controller on this one, which is the ideal way. Is what you do is you turn your Construct into the Gravity Controller. But I'm going to be ideally aiming to use this as fusion material as much as I possibly can in this version. This, unlike the Winder, cannot be made through the Dracotail Feymana because it's not a dragon or a spellcaster, but it's still just one that you're always naturally insanely powerful for the Shaddoll matchup, or like the Shaddoll plays. For the other Shaddoll monsters we play 4 Shaddoll monsters. So we're going to be playing the 1 App Clone. Now this is also a spellcaster, so technically if you open up 2 Shaddoll monsters with different attributes, you can make this turn 0, but that's going to be very rare to do. So it's more so one of the cards you can send with the Dogmatica, the Nadir Servant, or of course you can just fusion summon into it during your opponent's turn, send in 2 attributes, and then negate a card. And the best way about this is I like using Genius with either this or with the Shekanaga to negate 2 off of this, or just negate 1 off of this. Speaking of which, we play the one Shekanaga, we play the one Grista, and we play the one Alantelis. Now, you don't have to play these cards whatsoever. That's kind of coming down to the version that you decide to play. If you decide to play a version with super polarization, you can sub these out for more effective targets. What I like about these is that when you look at the rest of the Dracotail monsters, is you have the option to use your Lucias for your Shekanaga, using it as fusion material, so you get its effect back. You can use the Femena as your Alantelis monster, and then the one that's probably going to be the most effective for you is the Grista, using the Urgler, because then the Urgler can then pop a spell a trap, and it gives you the benefit to kind of cycle back some of your materials as well, stuff like your Femena or your Lucias. So I do like the options that we have to get access to these, and again, this is what I was saying, it's a bit more of a nostalgic approach to Shaddolls, as if you want to play it in the most competitive environment possible, you're probably going to be looking at stuff like the Grand Grignol, you're going to be playing Cartesias in the main deck, and everything else in between. For your other fusion monsters that you're going to want to be sending off of the back of stuff like your Nadir Servant, we've got the Grua, Wings of Resonance Life, bit of a draw card there. The Chimera Flesia, as already mentioned, search you out your Magicalized Fusion, but you can also search you out your Shaddoll Fusion as well. Elder Entity Unts for the pop, and then the Quintet Magician. So this requires specifically 5 Spellcasters monsters, which is why the Magicalized Fusion is a really good way to get to it, because most, if not all, of your Shaddoll monsters from the main deck are going to be Spellcasters, and then if you do leave your Dracotails in the graveyard, you do have your Femena and your Lucias, which can be utilized as those materials to help you get to it, and it's just one of them, again, just a funny little boss monster. So if you don't want to play it, again, you take out the Quintet, you take out the Magicalized Fusion, you can then take out the Predaplant Chimera Flesia from the extra deck, and that's when you can start opening up to like Gravity Controller and everything else in between. Then the final cards we are playing is the 3 Dracotail monsters, being the 2 Arfleon and the 1 Glamel. And then, pretty staple in a Dracotail lineup is the Sectorion Dragon. This could be quite nice to help you recycle some of your Dragon monsters, whether it be from the extra deck or whether it be your Dragon monsters for the Dracotails, but then also get you access to either a Spellcaster from the graveyard, so recycle a Winder, or of course being able to recycle a Winder back to the field, or just any of your Shaddoll monsters that you want to be getting back to the field so that you have a Shaddoll monster on the field to be utilized as material. So that's pretty much it for the entire profile. Hopefully this has given you a bit of a rundown into what you would be looking for. This is built more for fun than it is for like competitive value, as I do feel that you can raise the ceiling of this deck to make it a more competitive value by utilizing some of the other cards available to you in the fusion strategy, like I constantly keep mentioning, being the Cartesia. I think that's probably the most aggressive version and the most effective version that you can go for should you want to do it. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Any questions, comments below as always, and I'll do my best to answer them. For now, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.